Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Hypnotica with Chantel and Melissa. Today's topic is curiosity versus judgment in relationships. So, Melissa, you have some news for us this week. What
Yeah.
is your big news?
Oh my goodness, y'all. I just got engaged a couple of weeks ago and I'm still just on cloud nine, doing all the things, feeling all the things. For those of you on YouTube, if you can see my sparkler, yay. I
So
wish the light
pretty.
were hitting it more, but but yeah, I love it. I love it. I'm so excited about it. Um, so the inspiration for this topic today has been based on my my recent experience of sharing with people this news because my fiance and I have not been together too terribly long. So I was telling Chantel before we started recording that when my partner Rob had passed away, I was writing some essays around it for a creative writing class, and I was talking to my teacher about it, and I said, I feel crazy for feeling this way because we weren't together that long. And we weren't, but we had this magical connection. And my teacher said, well, how long is long enough? And I didn't have an answer for that because time is something we made up on earth here. What I felt in that relationship was the energy that he brought to our connection, and also his humanness. There was the soul part and the human part that I totally fell in love with. And I've had really lovely connections with people since. But when I met my fiance, of course we met on the internet, y'all. Um, when I saw his profile and messaged him, when he responded, I felt it. There is no other way for me to describe it other than my intuition said, this is your next relationship. I didn't think this was going to be my husband, y'all, because I didn't think I was ever going to get married. But I was like, oh, this is the next relationship. When I met him in person, that feeling was even more solid. And we had this really comfortable first date. And then we had some really hilarious dates afterwards. So where I just felt safe enough to suggest some weird stuff where I'm like, on our third date, can we go get matching tattoos? And so we did. And it was great and weird and wonderful and not normal for me at all. Usually I'm like, okay, we have to do the more like normal safe dates of like, let's just go get drinks and food or whatever. So as time went on, we were both in the same boat of feeling like, yes, we want to do this. Yes, we want to be together, solidifying a relationship. And then that conversation turned into, what if we got married? So, which led to other conversations, things that were really difficult for us to talk about, but also very valid for us to bring up. Like, if we're going to merge our lives, like, we got to talk about all the deep, dark stuff and all the bright, shiny, sparkly stuff. And neither one of us were running for the hills. So it was like, okay, we'll continue. And then he had plans for proposal on like a certain thing and then decided not to do that. So we're sitting at this bar and we're talking about getting engaged. And he's like, well, I don't want to do this. And I'm thinking about this and I don't want to do that. And I'm just chilling, y'all. I'm like, I don't know what to say. Because like, that's your plan. I don't know. And so we ended up going to another bar. We ordered the same drink because that's just a thing that we keep doing, magically ordering the same things. And he had the ring on him, which I wasn't aware of. And then he asked, and I was like, what? But of course, yes, immediately, yes. So we, my experience has been because a lot of people didn't know that we were together. I've been really, really quiet about it. And a lot of my coworkers did know, and some of my friends knew, but I've received generally wonderful responses. But there has been a group of folks with the same kind of mentality where they're not understanding. Like, why would I do this so quickly? I don't know him well enough yet. And I keep going back to what is enough? Like, what is long enough? Because after losing a partner to death, I mean, we have no control over what is happening. So if this is what feels right to me, even if it goes up in flames, I'm still so happy I had this experience with this human. I've wanted to marry people before, but I've never just felt it the way I feel it now, where there's not a shadow of a doubt, where I'm just like, yes, I want this experience with this person. So I'm feeling like I've been having to defend myself and defend my choices, which has sent me into like all kinds of like spirals about it. And like in this spiral, it's coming back into myself and be like, well, I still choose this. I still want this. This is still ultimately my life. Like if people are coming at me with happiness or judgment, it doesn't matter at the end of the day because this is still what I'm actively, consciously choosing. I'm not being flippant about it. So in talking to Chantel about everything, we were looking at curiosity versus judgment. It's for me right now, I'm having to get curious about my reactions and trying not to judge the people who are judging me because they have made different decisions. A lot of them have made decisions that are societal norms, but that's not good for me personally. That's not right for me personally. And I've spent a lot of time coming out of that and being like, that's not going to work for me. So what does? And all the points are valid. The societal norms are valid. My points are valid. People that are even more non-traditional are valid. But it still begs the question of if we see ourselves being judgmental, how can we add more curiosity in and see how maybe we can change our responses to people that maybe don't live the way we do? But it's not always the easiest thing, especially when we think we're right. So, but yeah, living in the land of curiosity has been the adventure right now on top of planning a wedding.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
What you were talking about just reminds me about like masculine energy and feminine energy. You know, like the masculine is the more structured container, the right, wrong, black, white, good, bad. And the
Mm-hmm.
feminine energy is more intuition, nuance, you know, sometimes storms, like it's just all the things, right? And like we all have different personalities and human design, you know, like astrology, whatever your belief system or curiosities are in that field, we can all agree that we're all different. We all have different life experiences, filters, points of view, and that's okay, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I feel like the more that I give myself permission to pivot towards my preferences, no matter what the societal norms are, the safer I am.
Yes.
Because it makes me energetically not a match for the things that are not meant for me.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, in any relationship, whether it's family, friends, significant other, um, when things come up that we feel triggered by, our first response usually is judgment, or like, why are they judging me? Like I judge them for judging me. But when we can kind of slow down, take a step back, and look at it with curiosity, there is so much nuance there. There's so much understanding that we can have for each other, and which makes us not have to go to war or become enemies or anything like that. Like people can just kind of, it reminds me of one of my favorite quotes, to let go, something about like to let be means that we see people with compassion, like things come and go on their own. People can come and go on their own. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not that we have to decide, like, okay, yeah, these are my besties and I hate these people and, you know, like I'm never talking to them again. Like, no, like things are, things and people are allowed to come in and out of your life. Like we can hold our relationships with an open hand. We can stand sovereign in our opinions, decisions, whatever. Like we can own them. We know that nothing is like life or death. Like whatever decision we make, as long as we learn something from it, it's not a failure. Like
Hmm.
it really gives us more permission to live, instead of like a lot of people, they spend their life like not living. They spend it trying to be so perfect, and so don't want to make the wrong decision, that they don't make any decision at all. So
Hmm.
like there's got to be some balance there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. It also, like, to what you were saying too with the masculine and feminine energy, I feel like a lot of people are disconnected from their intuition and how things make them feel and what's good for them. Like, I feel like people might feel it, but then logic over it and
Mhm.
logic their way into and out of things. And it's like, okay, can we do both? Like, both are valid, but like either extreme is too much.
Yeah, and like it reminds me of like gurus who like write a book or go doing motivational speaking, and their main message is, this is what worked for me, and because it worked for me, it will also work for you.
Hmm.
And when has that ever been true in anything? Like
Exactly.
science shows us that like different diets work for different people. Not
Mhm.
everybody, like some people like, please don't diet, that's not good for you. Or like
Yep.
even like success, like how people find success or wealth or whatever. Like we know, because we've studied human design, that there are different types of people, and they navigate the world differently. Some people are meant to wait for the invitation, some people are meant to initiate, some people are meant to just like share all the things and talk all the time, and other people are just meant to magnetize with when they feel good. Like they just magically magnetize people towards them. So like there's not one cookie cutter thing that works for everybody. And I think it's just really important that people know that they do have permission to, I just love the word pivot, to pivot
Yes,
towards
yes.
their preferences, and that their preferences sustain them and keep them safe. And it makes everything else that's not meant for them, not a match to them. And it's a way of living. I mean, if anyone has listened to all of our podcast episodes and they see how you answer questions, like you literally take a moment and you tune in to your intuition, and that is your guide. And I try my best to to live like that too. I don't always do it, but like there is always that first hit, like that. Learning hypnotherapy has taught me to go with the first
Mhm.
answer, because then the conscious mind pops in there with all the what if, like
Always.
after that, like those are not like that's the spirit of fear that we don't want to be listening to.
Hmm.
We want to be like listening to our intuition and navigating life that way. And like we recognize the voice of intuition because it's like a very comforting, not fearful voice. Like some
Hmm.
people wonder like what's the difference between anxiety and intuition for that inner voice. And like to me, it's the feeling that you get. Like if it's any kind of feeling of fear, then that's not the one to listen to. But if it's like a very just solid, comforting, like this is the way, then that's how you know.
Yep.
And not everyone navigates life like that. And I'm not saying everyone should, but I'm saying that those who do, like it's fine, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the permission aspect of it, like giving yourself permission to do it differently, to see it differently, to make choices differently than how you were raised or what you've seen or experienced before. Also paying attention to how your choices and decisions make you feel. If you choose something, especially if it's all logic, and you start to feel bad about it, that's information for you to decide again or keep going, but like pay attention to that.
Yeah, like yoga with Adrian. Adrian always says, find what
Yes.
feels good. And it's
Yes.
not only with, physical sensations, it's with emotions too. Find
Hmm.
what feels good. Like, not necessarily like excitement, right? But more like
Hmm.
what feels comforting and joyous and just good, like.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I enjoy the feeling of like contentment and like satisfaction, where I'm just like, oh, I just feel satisfied with right now, whatever is happening. And like this feels, yeah, I think satisfaction is what feels good to me. And so I'm like wanting that.
Well, all we have is right now, right? Like we read these books about the power of the now and, bringing back all of our energy to the now, and the now is really the only thing we actually, have. And the past is the past. We
Hmm.
don't need to worry about the future. We don't need to agonize over the past. We can just bring all of our energy back to the now and bring all of our energy back to ourselves instead of to everyone else, and then just pivot, like how do I currently feel and how do I want to feel, and then
Hmm.
just every moment just slowly navigating life that way instead of like that's not the plan, like we got to stick
Yeah.
to the plan.
Yeah.
We got to do it like everyone else. Like, what would the world be if we were all robots, all cookie
Oh my
cutter,
God.
like just doing all the same thing? That would be so boring. Like, why not do it the way we want to do it in a whole new way? Like,
Hmm.
that's how artists work. That's how
Yes.
creative, yeah, that's how creatives navigate.
Yeah. And it's not always in this linear fashion. Sometimes it looks like a giant rainbow scribble on a piece of paper. It's not all just like a perfect line, like notebook paper. It doesn't look like that. It might be everywhere.
Hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I love the feeling of clarity after a storm, or like not an
Hmm.
actual storm, but it's kind of like the metaphor is like, a rainstorm or thunderstorm and then like the rainbow after, and like where like if you're on the water, the waves have calmed down and everything's peaceful and you can like see clearer. When we're in like an emotional storm where we've been triggered by something, it's hard for us to see clearly because like of all the waves, or it's hard for
Yeah.
us to I don't know, think logically because we're so hurt by whatever judgment that we've received. um
Hmm.
there's a belief that I have adopted. I've velcroed it to myself, and it's
Yeah.
people are doing the best they can with what they know.
Yeah.
um I know people would try to argue with me on that, and I don't care if it's right or wrong. That's not why
Hmm.
I adopted it and it velcroed it to myself. The
Right.
reason that this belief that people are doing the best they can with what they know is so helpful to me is that it helps me to not be resentful when people do judge me, because I am different and I am judged all the time. And if
Hmm.
I let that like make me into a storm all the time, that's not conducive for me. Like
Right.
that's not helpful to my life. So this belief that everyone's doing the best they can with what they know is very helpful, because it helps me to like understand where they're coming from. Like they have different life experiences, they have different triggers. They're probably just trying to keep me safe based on what they know, and like they don't understand, and that's okay. Like we
Hmm.
don't have to understand each other to love each other. Like we just have to
Definitely.
like want to understand. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just looking back at our podcast, and it's been like a little over a year since we started. Life
Yep.
was so different for us both, for the
Yeah.
relationships that we were in then and how things are for us now in the relationship field. Very, very different.
Hmm.
We've grown so much. And we've tried to keep things like a little vague because, you got to protect people's privacy and stuff through stories. But through this past year, our podcast has really helped us grow, helped us see where we are and where we want to be. And I hope that it's done the same for all of y'all.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yay. On that fabulous note, thank you for hanging out with us and for, spending this year with us. It's been so wonderful. I'm excited for all the other new things that will be created. Yay. All right, y'all. Well, we will see you soon.
All right. Till next time. Bye.
Bye.